The next point, we should ensure whatever we see is clear.
That means work is being done. We can see that it is in opposite direction.
Hello learners, you are welcome to yet another e-learning class. My name is Obi Fine, your usual economics teacher. Early this morning I met with my friend who is a very sound importer. He summoned me to come and assist him to look into those factors that affect his supply. He's a very good importer, he's doing well, but his supplies are having problems. So he summoned me to come and help him and analyze these factors in a way that it will favor him, these factors that affect supply. So that leads us to today's topic. What we are going to look at today is factors that affect supply. We are equally going to look at types of supply, and then finally we look at short run and long run in supply analysis. Now, let us go to the factors that affect supply. We have several factors that affect supply, but the ones we are going to treat today are those that we have here. Number one, we have price of the commodity. Number two, prices of other commodities. 3, change in cost of production. 4, natural disaster or other catastrophes. 5, government policy. 6, entry of new firms. 7, improved techniques and new inventions. These are what we are going to look at today under factors that affect supply. These factors that affect supply, sometimes in your exams, they may ask you negative factors because they are tired of all these factors. Sometimes they will want to ask you, what are the negative factors that affect supply, or what are the positive factors that affect supply? They are still the same headlines, but the thing is that the way you explain it, if you explain it positively, it will become positive factor. If you explain it negatively, it will become negative factor. Number one, let us look at price of the commodity. A favorable price induces greater supply. That is, a commodity will be supplied at a higher price than at a lower price, which is the law of supply. Suppliers supply more at a higher price. That is when the price is very high than when it is low. When the price is high, the supplier wants to take advantage of the high price and supply more in order to make a big profit. Number two, we have price of other commodities. How do this price of other commodities affect supply? You say that the supply of a commodity will be affected, especially substitutes. Remember what we said about substitutes. What are substitutes? Substitutes are goods that you can use instead of another. For example, Bonvita and Ovaltine. You can use Bonvita to take your tea. You can still use Ovaltine to take your tea. You can still use Milo to take your tea. So substitutes are goods that you can use instead of another. Now, when we are talking, we said the supply of commodity will be affected, especially substitutes. That is when one can be used instead of another. If the price of the commodities rises because of increase in the price of other commodities, we attract and encourage more production of those commodities and less production of commodities whose prices have remained the same. What we are saying here is that if the price of a product rises, the suppliers will supply more of that product which the price has risen, and less of those that their prices have remained the same. Why? The price of this is the same. Thereby, they will not get much profit if they keep supplying it. Always remember that suppliers supply more. That's the law of supply. Suppliers supply more when the price is high than when it is low. So they have the tendency to produce more goods that are high. For example, today, rice is very scarce because of the ban in importation of rice. Now you find out that local producers everywhere, they are moving up and down, making sure that they produce more of local rice because that is what is in vogue. Now that's what people are using. They make sure that they go to everywhere. Even the suppliers, those that are not actually the producer, but they are supplying, they go to hinterlands to look for what? To look for this local rice because that is what is in vogue, to take advantage of the high price and supply more and make more profit. Number 3, change in cost of production. I repeat, change in cost of production. All things being equal, a higher cost of production tends to reduce supply, while lower cost of production tends to increase supply. If a producer pays more for his factor of production, he will charge higher prices, for his final product in order to cover the cost of production. What do we mean here? That all things being equal, a higher cost of production tends to reduce supply. I guess you still remember what we learned about cost of production. What is cost of production? Cost of production is that actual amount that is spent in the production of a product or service. For example, your cost of production for producing maybe 50 balls of meat pie, how do you calculate it? You calculate all those items that you use in the production of that the balls. One, you use flour. How much flour did you buy? How much sugar did you buy? How much butter did you buy? Then what about salt or milk? You calculate all these materials together, then come out with the cost. That is your cost of production before you now put your markup as a profit. So when we are talking about cost of production, we are talking about the actual amount that is spent in the production of a particular product or service. So what we are saying here is that the higher the cost of production, the lower the supply. What it means that when the supplier or producer has spent more of his money in the production of a particular product or service, that much he may not have enough to produce more. But when the cost of production is very low, he will have more money to spend in his production, thereby producing more of the commodity. So that is how cost of production affects the supply of a particular product or service. Number 4, natural disaster or other catastrophe. Natural disaster or other catastrophe. Drought, fire, flood, war, epidemic or plague of insects will affect the supply of commodities. For example, in poultry industry, epidemic is a common occurrence. When it takes place, the supply of eggs will be affected. What we are saying here is that natural disasters, when it happens, you have flood, you have fire, you have war. During wartime, nobody produces anything, no factory is working. Just even during epidemic, as we have COVID-19 now, for a long time, people have not been going to work. Factories closed, hunger everywhere because the farmers cannot even go to farm, because of the lockdown that has been imposed by government in order to save lives. So all these things, when they happen, they do what? They impede supply. You cannot supply because you have to produce before you supply. You cannot supply what you do not have. Thereby, when we are talking about natural disasters, epidemics, just like in poultry farming, when there is epidemic in poultry, in a poultry, somebody that has about maybe 2,000 birds may end up having only 50. The lives of the birds will be taken by epidemics. And that will pose a very big loss. How can he now supply eggs? Maybe he has 2,000 birds that produce 10 crates of eggs every day, 10 crates of eggs. Now he is having 50. 50 cannot even give you half crate of egg. Thereby, it has affected the supply for eggs in poultry farming. Number 5, government policy. Government policy. Government policy, particularly on taxation, for instance, on poultry farming equipment or products, will cause decrease, while subsidy given to poultry farmers in form of free importation of poultry equipment and poultry feeds will lead to an increase in supply of eggs. Government policy, especially in taxation. A tax is a compulsory payment or levy, or is levied on every eligible citizen towards the expenditure of the state. So, and government tax industries or firms or companies, they pay tax. So when the tax they pay is increased, they will have less to invest in their business. And when they have less to invest in their business, they will no longer have more to boost their production and, in other words, boost their supply. So when government gives subsidy, you remember what is subsidy? Not too many of you still know what we are talking about subsidy. Subsidy, when we are talking about subsidy, we are talking about paying a part of. When government want to favor the consumers, government come out with subsidy. Just like when we are talking about price control, we talk about high price and the low price. Government gives subsidy in order to favor the consumers. What is subsidy? Paying a part of the amount of the price of a particular product so that the consumers will get the actual product at a lower price. For example, if the cost of petroleum, landing cost, is 140 naira, government may ask the suppliers, please, I want the consumers to get this product at 100 naira. But the landing cost is 140 naira. What happens? The product will be sold at 100 naira, while government pays up the remaining 40 naira that the consumers would have paid to make it 140 naira. That is paying a part of the price of a product so that the consumers will get the product at a relatively lower price. Number 6, new entry or entry of new firms. Entry of new firms. How do entry of new firms affect supply? Free entry into the industry or market will generally result to an increase in supply. For example, when new poultry farmers join the industry, more eggs will be made available. While we are talking about entry of new firms, in many businesses, entry into that firm is very, very difficult, especially in our country here. Entry into that firm is either through government restriction or through the market union or through the suppliers union and so on and so forth. But naturally, all things being equal, what we are saying here is that entry of new firms will increase the supply of the particular product. For example, you have 10 suppliers of eggs and they supply these eggs to secondary schools. Now you find out that as the boarding schools are increasing, meaning that they need more eggs, and there is no increase in the number of these suppliers, you see that there will be shortages in the supply of these eggs to the schools. But when more farmers or poultry farmers enter into this industry, when new poultry farmers enter into this new industry, you now find out that as they enter, they increase the supply of eggs. Because since Mr. A was supplying 10, Mr. B supplied 15, Mr. C that is coming in newly may supply 8, Mr. D may even come in newly and supply 20. So as many as they are that enters the firm, that is also as many, or it will boost the supply of eggs or the poultry products. Number 7, improve techniques and new inventions. Improved techniques and new inventions. Improved technology reduces cost per unit of production and increases output or supply. For example, greater automation in poultry industry has given rise to mass production of eggs. New improved techniques. When we are talking about improved techniques, it means here that there are new ways or modern ways of doing things. When I was a little boy, I was told, or not even I was told, I witnessed it, that they said that women don't eat eggs. Women and children don't eat eggs. Eggs in those days were eaten by men. It's only men that eat egg. Because egg then was under opportunity cost. Because there were no inventions. Production of eggs then was through natural factor. That is mating between male and female. When you are talking about the hen and the cock, then they will produce. The hen will lay egg, which eventually hatch, and you now get a chicken. But then you have opportunity cost either to eat the egg. If you eat the egg, there will be no hatching. If you allow the hen to hatch, then you will not eat egg. So that time the production of egg was very small. So families don't eat egg anyhow. So it is the head of the family who is the man that eats egg. So they now say that women don't eat egg, because women and children, if you dare touch egg, they'll say that you're a thief. So that brings us to this, what we are talking about, new invention. Today, If you go out anywhere along the street, you see eggs everywhere. Why? Because of the new invention, new technology in the production of eggs. There is what we call hatching machine. Today, eggs are brought out without natural means by mating through male and female. No. Now, it is through modernization or mechanization, because you bring out the chickens, they will eat feed, only feed and not meeting. They will lay eggs. And these eggs will be placed into hatchery machine. The hatchery machine will hatch them. That's why you can go to any shop now, you can eat. Then we only eat egg, either during, we only eat chicken, either during Christmas or during Easter or during any big festivity. That is when we eat chicken. But today, you can go to anywhere and take chicken anyhow. Go to Mr. Biggs, you see chicken everywhere. You can just pick anything you like and pay for it because it is everywhere. Now, let us go to the types of supply. Types of supply. We have two types of supply, and they are joint supply and composite supplies. Joint supplies and composite supplies. Listen attentively and see how it goes and how we are going to explain them, so that as you get into your exam and you see it, you don't need to think. It will stick there in your brain. One, joint supply. When you hear the name joint, as the name implies, joint, used together, they are together. So let us look at joint supply in supply. Now, the commodities in joint supply are often produced together. They are produced together. That is, the commodities come from the same source. For example, beef and hides from oxen, petrol and kerosene, which are often refined petroleum. They come from refined petroleum, beef and hides from oxen. When two products are in joint supply, one may be a byproduct of the other. That is, one may be the main product, whereas the other one will be the supporting product. One may be a byproduct of the other product. That is, you cannot increase the supply of one without increasing the supply of the other at the same time. When the supply of beef increases by slaughtering more oxen, the supply of its byproduct hides increase at the same time. What are we saying here? What we are saying here is that when the supply of beef increases, I hope you still remember what is called hides. Some of you don't even know what is called hides. Hides is that thick back of the animal. For example, when they kill a cow, you now find out that most people skin it. They skin it, bring out the back, then start cutting up the pieces, the inside, the soft meat. That back is what we call hides. It's used in the production of many things. Maybe you go to Kano, you see where they do leather shoes, bags, skin mat, and so on and so forth. But it comes from the animal, either from the oxen, or sometimes you get from goats, you get from cows. So if there is increase in the demand for beef, maybe during festivities, people will need beef. Some people will, maybe 2 of them or 3, will pay for 1 cow. They will go and slaughter the cow because they need the meat. Meanwhile, it is meat that they need, but not hides. But there is no way you can slaughter the oxen without bringing out the hides. So that's what we are saying here, that if there is increased demand for beef, its price will rise. More oxen will be slaughtered and more hides will be produced too. But since the demand for hides has not increased, the price of hides will fall. You see, in joint supply, they go in opposite direction, because once there is high demand for beef, then you know that they will slaughter the oxen. The price of beef will be very high. But since the demand for oxen has not increased, because they have gotten enough, it has not increased, the price will go down, because you are now forcing the the buyer or the consumer to do what? To buy. Please come and buy. He doesn't need it. He has gotten enough. But since you are slaughtering more oxen because you need more meat, you will be getting more highs. And you are now inducing the buyer to buy. Then the buyer cannot buy unless at a very reduced price. It is important to note that the price of goods in joint supply tends to move in opposite direction. In petrol and kerosene, if there is an increase in the demand for petrol, while the demand for kerosene remains unchanged, the price of petrol will rise, leading to an increase in its supply. The price of petrol will rise, leading to an increase in the supply. Remember that suppliers supply more at a high price than at a low price. So once the price increases, the supplier will do everything, look for that product anywhere and bring it in order to supply and make a high profit. Number 2, composite supply. Composite supply. The goods that are in composite supply are substitutes to one another. The prices of commodities in composite supply tends to move in the same direction. That is, if the price of one commodity falls, the demand for its substitute will decrease and the price of the substitute will fall. So here, the price of goods in composite supply tends to move in the same direction. The price of goods in composite supply tends to move in the same direction. Example, we have cars, buses, trains, taxis, and scooters as alternative means of transportation to certain extent. In beverages, we have tea, coffee, and cocoa. We also have fuel oil, electricity, and coal, which compete with one another as alternative sources of power. Now, let us go to short-run and long-run supply analysis. Short-run and long-run supply analysis. The difference between demand and supply is that demand can respond almost immediately to change in a price, while in supply there is an element of time lapse. That is, a period of time must elapse before any meaningful change can be made in a supply. Let us look at short-run supply. In short run, it is defined as a period of time. A period of time in which that is a quantity and plant and equipment do not change significantly. It is a period of time that is too short to allow any substantial increase in the fixed capital or in the number of specialized workers in the industry. A period of time that is too short. This is a period of time that somebody is just starting business. Let us take, for example, a producer of pure water. You are producing pure water in a very small room, just call it one room. In that one room, you have your machine. That machine can only fit that one room. And it can only produce the capacity of 50 bags in a day because you have just started business. You have invested all your money there. And somebody says, I want you to supply me 80 bags in a day. You cannot. The supplier cannot. That is what we call short run. A period of time that is too short for increase or for input to be made in a production. That is meaningful input to be made in a production. That time is too short. You cannot change. Suppliers will be unwilling to do what? To supply at that rate, except when they will charge you higher cost. That higher cost means they will have to source other avenues where they can improve it with higher cost. Now, let us look at a long-run supply analysis. Long-run supply analysis. What is long-run? Long-run is defined as a period of time that is too long or long enough for the quantity of fixed capital and equipment to be adjusted to desired level. I have something here, inverted commas. We said, in long run, it's always there in your exam. In long run, that is the question. The next thing you know, and the answer is, all factors are variable. That's why I say, in long run, all factors are variable. What we are saying here is that in that long run, investors or new technologies in long run can help to lower cost of the firm, and industry may have derived and employ better techniques. In that long run, substitutes may be found. There is better ways of doing production may be found in that long run. That's why we say in long run, all factors are variable. Now let us look at the assignment we have for today. We have already learned about so many factors that affect supply. We have learned of types of supply. For the assignment of today, we are going to look at number 1, mention the factors that affect supply. Mention the factors that affect supply. 2, identify the types of supply. 3, differentiate between long run and short run supply. Differentiate between long run and short run supply. You can always send it to my WhatsApp. I remain Obi Ifeanyi, 080-350-328-31. I repeat, Obi Ifeanyi, 080-350-328-31. Stay safe, keep learning. As you go to your exam, I wish you luck and God bless. Thank you.